A year after several Olympic sliding tragedies, another young Luger arrived believing the track's danger was only legend. He had heard warnings, but the quiet of the early morning made him feel invincible. As he settled onto his sled, he didn't notice razor-sharp ridges forming along the lower curves. He pushed off hard, the wind flattening his suit against his thin stick-figure frame like plastic wrapping. The sled struck the first ridge, jolting him upward like a sudden kick. Every small adjustment he tried turned into a violent wobble at terrifying speed. By the midsection, his momentum doubled, and he was now fighting a track that wanted him off. Reaching curve 13, nicknamed the ribs, the sled launched upward like hitting a spring. The sled lost contact completely, tossing him sideways into empty air. For a heartbeat, he floated weightlessly, staring at exposed steel beams below. His body slammed the beams with a sickening crack that echoed across the empty facility. The force crushed his ribs instantly, folding his thin frame like brittle twigs. He slid down the beam and collapsed on the ice, leaving a thin red streak behind. Crash sensors triggered alarms, sirens cutting through the morning cold like screams. Staff rushed down the track, their silhouettes growing larger as the sirens wailed above them. They found him unresponsive, his small stick-figure chest rising only once before going still. Medical attempts failed. The damage to his ribs and lungs was catastrophic. Another promising athlete died not in the spotlight of the games, but alone on a frozen track built to thrill and known for death. A bitter wind swept across the frozen slopes as a new competitor prepared for a high-speed training run. She was known for daring stunts, but this day the mountain felt different. The slope had been closed for safety, yet the thrill of untouched snow was too tempting. Each turn she carved sent sprays of powder into the freezing air. Her skis caught a hidden ice patch, and for a heartbeat, she lost control. Gravity pulled her down a steep chute, the snow slick like glass beneath her. Ahead, a cluster of sharp rocks jutted from the ice, nature's cruel spikes waiting. She tried to steer, but the momentum was unstoppable. Her body collided with the rocks, sending a spray of snow and tiny fractures across the slope. Pain shot through her chest as her ribs shattered on impact. She tumbled further down the hill, each bounce more violent than the last. The slope's edge ended abruptly at a frozen river below. She flew over the ledge, suspended in the cold air for a fleeting instant. Impact with the ice below was immediate and fatal. Rescue teams arrived too late, their silhouettes dwarfed by the harsh mountain. The mountain had claimed yet another life, unmarked by medals or glory. Her frozen eyes stared at the sky as if asking why fate had turned so cruel. And in the silent aftermath, the wind whispered across the slopes, promising that danger would always return. The morning sun glinted off the Swiss Alps, but beneath the sparkling snow, danger lay unseen. A young Olympic snowboarder ignored the posted avalanche warnings, eager to conquer untouched powder. She carved her first turn smoothly, the crisp snow spraying like icy fireworks. But the snow beneath her shifted, a thin fracture running faster than she could react. The slope above cracked violently, sending a wall of snow cascading toward her. Her body was lifted and carried by the moving snow like a rag doll in a frozen river. Rocks and tree branches emerged from the white wave, hidden killers within the powder. She slammed into one of the hidden trees, splintering her small frame instantly. Momentum threw her down the slope uncontrollably, tumbling over icy ledges. She became completely buried as the avalanche roared past, snow compressing with terrifying force. Nearby skiers screamed and tried to escape, but the avalanche swallowed everything in its path. The storm of ice and snow continued downhill, crushing everything in a flat 2D plane. Rescue dogs and teams arrived minutes later, their tiny forms dwarfed by the aftermath. When they dug through, they found her motionless, lungs crushed by the compacted snow. The mountain claimed yet another Olympic athlete, proof that skill alone could not defy nature. The wind howled over the silent slope, whispering the names of those lost before her. Avalanche warnings remained posted, but the lure of untouched snow would tempt others. And somewhere in the mountains, the snow waited, patient, ready for the next victim. The Olympic ski jump towered above the frozen valley, a metallic slope glinting in the pale winter sun. He had trained for years for this moment, every jump calculated, every motion memorized. The wind whistled harshly, carrying an icy warning no one could ignore. With a push, he launched off the ramp, soaring into the sky with perfect form. But a gust of wind caught him off balance, tilting his body unnaturally. Time slowed as he realized he would not land safely on the slope below. He slammed into the edge of the jump platform, snapping his stick figure limbs like twigs. His helmet bounced off, exposing his circular head, eyes wide in terror. Tumbling through the air, he struck the guardrails along the side, each collision jarring his frame. Finally, he crashed onto the icy landing zone, skis breaking apart beneath him. Medical teams rushed up the ramp, their stick figure silhouettes trembling in disbelief. The wind carried a deathly silence across the valley, amplifying the horror. Attempts at resuscitation failed. Internal injuries were too severe. Witnesses could only stare as the champion's dream ended in minutes. The jump remained, empty and silent, a monument to the danger that had claimed him. Officials lowered flags in mourning, the crowd's cheer replaced with whispers of fear. Yet every season, new athletes dared to climb, chasing glory against the looming peril. And somewhere above, the wind waited, patient, ready to turn triumph into tragedy again. The Grand Alpine Hotel stood silent under a blanket of snow, its lights dim as the night grew colder. Only a skeleton crew remained, checking rooms and maintenance before winter ended. Among them, a young Olympic skier had stayed to train nearby, unaware of the danger ahead. Around 4:30 a.m., a spark ignited in a utility room, small at first but quickly growing. The fire spread through wooden floors and walls, devouring corridors with an unnatural speed. Smoke rose like a silent killer, filling every room with a suffocating darkness. Guests awoke to alarms too late, trapped by the heat and choking fumes. The skier and his father tried to reach the stairs, only to find them blocked by fire. Flames licked the walls as they struggled to escape, panic stretching every motion. They pressed on, but the corridor narrowed into a lethal tunnel of heat and smoke. The fire roared, consuming everything in minutes, its crackling echoing through empty halls. When firefighters breached the upper floor, they found the skier shielding his father. Smoke inhalation had taken both lives, leaving them intertwined in tragic final moments. The hotel would later be rebuilt, but its memory carried the horror of a winter night gone wrong. Alarm systems failed, a cruel irony for a building meant to protect its guests. Investigators noted that no one had survived the rapid spread, despite best efforts. The skier's ambition had led him here, not on the slopes, but in a place meant to rest safely. And somewhere in the silent Alps, the wind whispered through the rebuilt walls, carrying memory of tragedy.